So I'm going to share. So what we're going to do today is, finish off, do the practice day for the spiritual teacher. So we are going to start with as we did in the last module, or the module before the last one we did together, establishing a daily practice. We went through the prayers, the refuge, the seven limb, the mandala offering. So we did have some idea from that module how to do. So we're going to start the module with this because, like anything, if we want to develop, as we move through the modules and we get maybe a wee bit more time and space to practice, we need to develop what we call, a kind of daily practice based on some prayers and commitments as well, prayers ideally, if we can. So it's just giving you an opportunity to taste that today and just to practice again. Oh, there's Joe. Our daily, how to establish a daily practice, what that looks like. I mentioned in the last module, Guru Yoga, so we're on the module of how to develop sort of devotion, how to rely on a spiritual teacher, yeah. So again, a lot of us, we're still in that process and that's totally fine. We can still take stepping stones into these practices. And I'll explain how we do that. But today we're going to do the first one. It's a bit like a guru yoga practice, the Shakyamuni Buddha practice. So we'll start with that as a basis for, and that kind of practice is a basis for, then we meditate on the kindness of the guru. We meditate on the qualities of the teacher. We meditate on anything, karma. We do these analytical meditations on karma, precious human life, anything on the Lam Rim. But for our mind to move, to feel, oh, I really need a spiritual teacher. It's really clear, or I think we all know that in a way, but maybe moving deeper into that understanding of that, feeling of that, from things to move from the head, all this information we get in the modules, to the heart, we need these, what we call guru yoga practice. Using certain prayers, it's like a method, it's like just like Tibetan medicine, you get all these different ingredients. I don't know if you've seen these balls and they have this herb and that one and this one, all these different ingredients. And then you take it and it's like, oh, something's shifting. Even Western medicine all has different ingredients. Supplements have all these different ingredients. So similarly, for the mind, the mind to move, it needs different ingredients. So we need these sort of prayers, a set up of a practice, and that kind of supports the mind to move, supports the teachings to sort of trickle down slowly for the head to the heart. Making sense? Okay. I think we all know it, but I just keep saying it all the time. Repetition's good. For me, Lama Zopa Rinpoche for 40 years repeated a lot all the time, and slowly it kind of sifted it down. So it's like, oh, I've really got that now, I understand that now. So I'm going to begin by sharing this practice. Oh, can you co-host me so I can share, please? I'm sending a request. I just love Bay's background. It just reminds me of Nepal and Kopan Nunnery. It just takes me right back there, right back home. Okay, share, not... Oh, Bay! Oh, oh, lots of... a little bit of splash bang here. Bay's table collapsed for her computer, but it landed on a rug, so I think it's okay. Okay, we're just getting there with the tech. Share. Okay, share. I've got the share now. Right, so share from current slide. So sorry for those of us here, we'll just, for this meditation, we need to look. Sorry, Dana, you're going to have to look there because we don't have it. It's a bit hard on the neck, I guess. So yeah, we're just going to go through this. Some of us are familiar with this already, but either way, all of us as practitioners, we need to do, this is what is a daily practice. This is what we do every morning, we sit with our altar, we do these practices, We do these prayers, and then we do a little bit contemplation meditation. You know, that this is like the setup for the mind for, as I say, the deeper contemplations and meditations that we're going to go into. So let's take a few minutes to settle into our body and our breath. A couple of big deep breaths in and out, just all the way through the body, down to the sort of pit of the stomach. Inhale and just let go a couple of times again. As long as we're in grasping, as long as we're clinging to a sense of self, there's always tension in the body. It's just the nature of things for us right now. This is the nature of being in suffering, in delusion. We're not bad because of it. It's just where we are right now. The result of hearing a lot of teachings and meditating is actually getting a deeper acceptance of the Four Truths. Especially for us, the truth that we are suffering. We are under the control of the causes of suffering, and it's not okay, but it's just, there's a sort of lightness and understanding the truth of that in our being. So we have tension, we have challenges because we're still under the control of karma and delusion. So we need to take care of ourselves, our mind. Always need to try to take care. And meditation on this cushion is a place where we can really delve in and do a wee bit more care. Meditation being like a balm. We want it to be a bit like a balm, soothing balm for the mind. So breathing in, just going through the body a few times, scanning the body from the crown all the way down to the toes, breathing in deeply, release, relax. As we find these familiar areas of tension, maybe it's around the eyes, mouth, neck, massaging ourselves with breath and awareness, gently and kindly. I am a being who's still in samsara. That's how it is. So I need to massage my body and mind. Settle the mind just by scanning the body first. Create a bit of space in the mind. Just giving the mind a little bit space to breathe for meditation, like cleaning, by doing the 9-round breathing exercise. Once we're settled into the body, in our meditation position, now we need to support the mind by just clearing out the stale wind energy in the body that arise because of the presence of attachment, irritation, ignorance in the mind. That's just what happens because the mind is in this place of suffering right now. So we just always clean out the mind a little bit with this 9-round breathing exercise, clearing out the winds like we sweep the room, sweeping the environment of your mind. So inhale through the left nostril, exhale through the right 3 times. And then we can count, we count 4 in, hold the breath for 4. Exhale 4 out, exhaling, and that stale wind energy, like thick smoke or clouds going into the sky, universe disappearing, and hold the out breath for 4. As we breathe out, then hold for 4. So it's in for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, and then hold again. So 4 rounds of 4. First on the left side, closing, Inhale through, close the right, exhale through the left, exhale through the right. And then the opposite side in both nostrils. Keeping soft through the jaw, through the back of the throat. Just check, be with it for a moment, any lightness, any kind of space, clarity that arises from that meditation, like it's like clean the room, we feel a bit of lightness and spaciousness when we clean our house. So see if there's just a bit of clarity and just be with that clarity, basic clarity of the mind for a moment. Connecting, allowing your motivation for coming today to arise, our intention. It's a big part of karma. First aspect of karma is our intention. What was our intention today? So on top of our own intention, just take a moment to rejoice. Think again how wonderful. It's like we have this window of our precious human life. It's like just for this moment in time, consciousness has a beginning, it's beginningless. Not even an atomic bomb can destroy consciousness, it can only destroy our body. But right now, in the time of all our lives, all our rebirths, maybe we can't feel them, but this continuity consciousness and this huge, long, infinite continuity going way, way back, it's like we have this window of opportunity to develop our minds, to connect and awaken our Buddha nature. This precious seed that we all have that was, and its fruition leads to enlightenment, is enlightenment. And we have this opportunity to receive the Dharma, the teachings of the Buddha, that helps this seed to ripen more and more, the seeds for happiness and peace. Because we have merit to hear and have some kind of faith and attraction to the teachings. They capture our minds, So we're very fortunate that we can hear, understand, and be able to practice this path, See if we can feel that a little bit, how fortunate we are. Even though there's a lot, maybe other things going on in our lives and the world, we have to hold on to that basic fortune. Start to feel that more. The joy and the possibilities of developing our Buddha nature. How wonderful that is. And how wonderful it is we're here to continue to plant the seeds, nourish this, the roots, the branches, the leaves, the tree, everything, nourish our path through practice today. And through our practice today, may all beings, friends, family, all beings have this, find this fortune in their lives. Find the key to happiness and peace through spiritual teachings, through the Dharma. So at the level of our forehead, we start to feel the presence of Shakyamuni Buddha, just like the sun shining equally in all beings without discrimination. In the vast open sky, very clear blue sky appears. We just feel the presence like sun-like energy. As we see in the image, Shakyamuni Buddha at the level of brow, and a lotus, beautiful, soft, open lotus. Sun and moon cushion are the seats of enlightened beings. They abide always in the light, never in the dark. And then the holy bodies, golden, again, like the golden sun, translucent. Wearing the robes, a monk, showing pure morality, the peaceful mind of morality, not for a second harming others, with body, speech, and mind. And it's just like the sun, the rays is an aura, a golden aura around him that's really soft and pleasing. It's like when we look at the Buddha, we always just want to look, When you're around holy beings, you just want to look at them, you don't feel tired. There's a beauty there. So we think about what is our spiritual refuge. When we think about Buddha, his teachings, the spiritual community, the Sangha, lay Sangha, ordained Sangha, Sangha who have realizations. We go back to refuge, refuge is, in essence, having a deep conviction in our Buddha nature, our potential for transformation. Having a conviction, a faith, a flowering of faith, at least, that the Buddha, the Dharma and Sangha can guide us to that, our quality, our deepest fruition of that Buddha nature, completion of that, all the qualities and realizations. We want to bring forth in our hearts what they've already developed. and relying on them, leaning on the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha to bring about that fruition, all the fruition, all the levels of happiness up to enlightenment within ourselves. So we take refuge in them, and we grow a confidence as we take the outer refuge in our inner Buddha nature, its potential. We start to feel its transformation. So we get more courage, more conviction that it's possible, even all the way up to enlightenment, to develop our mind and heart. We need to always feel that gradual progression and opening our own Buddha nature. So we're going to recite these verses, Namo Guru Bhya, 3 times each together, imagining white light and nectar coming for the Buddha and just purifying us and filling us up and opening up our own Buddha quality, potential nature as we chant each one 3 times together. Namo Guru Bhya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Gurube, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Gurube, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sangaya. Once in English. To the Guru, I go for refuge. To the Buddha, I go for refuge. To the Dharma, I go for refuge. To the Sangha, I go for refuge. Taking a moment to feel the light coming through Buddha's heart completely embraces you with the qualities of refuge. Then we're going to recite and just taking a moment each for each one of us to reflect on the 4 immeasurables in their own way. How wonderful it would be if I and all sentient beings were abide in equanimity, free from attachment for some and hatred for others. Immeasurable love. How wonderful it would be if I and all sentient beings had happiness in the cause of happiness. Immeasurable compassion. How wonderful it would be if I and all sentient beings were free from suffering and the cause of suffering. Immeasurable joy. How wonderful it would be if I and all sentient beings were never separated from the bliss of higher rebirth and liberation. Then the 7-limb prayer. Again, this is practiced no matter what level we're at, a beginner or even high-level bodhisattvas continually practice the 7-limb prayer to purify the mind, clean the mind of negativity, negative karma, delusion, and also to create merit. So we'll just spend a moment with each line. With my body, speech, and mind, I devoutly prostrate. So we mentally prostrate to Shakyamuni Buddha in the space before us. So again, for those of us who have a guru, we think Shakyamuni Buddha is our guru. We try to feel that inseparability. So we prostrate to all our gurus. For those of us who haven't decided, connected with the guru yet, we're still in the process of exploring. We can think that Shakyamuni Buddha is our guru. He is our guru. He's a universal guru for all of us. So we prostrate at Shakyamuni Buddha, remembering all these qualities of fully developed wisdom, fully developed compassion. I mean, it's mind-blowing to have that quality, these qualities, fully developed power to reach, millions of beings. So we prostrate to that. We revere that quality, those qualities. I offer all offerings, both real and imagined. So whatever we enjoy, food, flowers, maybe what we have in our garden, beautiful lights, delicious food, from all the restaurants, or what we like to cook or bake, prostrate and offer, just like we were inviting a special guest to our house, we'd want to put out really nice offerings, but we can imagine offerings filling the earth and sky, prostrate, offer, and the Buddha enjoys, accepts in his heart the offerings and gets filled with bliss. Next one. All sins and offences amassed from beginningless time, I confess. So what's heavy on the mind? Maybe there's a particular action with your speech, maybe, divisive or harsh speech. Confess, offer it up to the Buddha. It's like we give it, and by confessing, opening up, it kind of lightens the mind. He hears, accepts our confession, it purifies that. I rejoice in all virtuous actions of holy and ordinary beings. As I said in the beginning, we rejoice in ourselves, being here, making these efforts to open up our potential, more and more, our potential for transformation, potential to be good. How wonderful it is. How amazing it is. Rejoicing in each one of us here, Dharma brothers and sisters, friends who are practicing, or anybody we know who has, really special quality of maybe patience, kindness, compassion, or has a really sharp mind, but in terms of intelligence, good intelligence. People who have taken refuge, bodhisattva vows, how wonderful it is, still trying to train and practice on the path, open up their Buddha nature more and more for others. How wonderful it is, how amazing it is. Lama Zopa would say, like a mantra, we think of the quality and think how wonderful it is, how amazing it is. We may not feel it right away, but it slowly starts to seep in through doing it like this, just chanting that like a mantra, how wonderful it is, how amazing it is. Then the great qualities of like His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, Lama Yeshe, any other gurus we have, or any other great beings or sages or masters who came into the world, who had a power of speech, a power of presence, power of bodhicitta, compassion, and benefited many beings because of their presence, because of their Buddha nature being much more developed, you know. So how wonderful it is, how amazing it is. Next line, O Gurus and Buddhas, please remain until samsara ends. So I mentioned in class, when we request this, creates the cause for us always to meet spiritual teachers until we fully develop ourselves, fully release ourselves from samsara. So we want that. We need to find qualified teachers. So when we do this prayer every day and we request the Buddha, the gurus like this, remain until my samsara ends, it's these seeds are imprints to always meet, recognize the need for, and have faith and devotion, respect for spiritual teachers. In the next line, and turn the wheel of Dharma for sentient beings, meaning, please teach me, please teach all of us. You know, for as long as we need. The nectar of the teachings is one of the most beneficial and kindest ways for us to develop, you know, and that's what we need the most, you know. So this creates the karma to always have perfect teachings, just what you need, you know, the food of the Dharma that you need to ingest at that time. All my virtues and those of all others I dedicate to the great enlightenment. So we seal all the positivity of the previous six limbs by in this last one, dedication, always towards enlightenment, the full development of our Buddha nature. So we continually have the courage, the determination to keep practicing. Creates that seed in the mind, the courage, determination, that's the journey we want to always go on, you know. We want to have that momentum in our life, every life, all our lives. Then again, the traditional mandala offering a depiction of the universe, which again is all our enjoyments. You know the traditional depiction where the centre of the Mount Meru, the four continents, we're on one of the continents, the sun and the moon. We can visualise that. Otherwise, you imagine offering, again, everything you enjoy, everything beautiful. When you're in the presence of a holy being, you want to offer things, beautiful things, you know. You're thankful, you know, so the mind opens. So a little bit feeling that, you know, whatever thankfulness we feel, gratitude for the teachings, we imagine that manifests in like beautiful things, you know, lights and flowers and delicious foods and teas. And, you know, we just offer that for your heart, you know, so we chant the prayer together. 사지보기 저심에도 잠리라블링지 니데겸바디 상해진 듬의 태의와예 조근 남닥식나 주발쇼. This ground anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the four continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine as a Buddha land and offer it. May all transmigratory beings enjoy this pure land. Yeram Guru Ratna Mandala Kamneyatayame. So again, it's the four aspects, how we achieve spiritual insight, deeper insights. We all want insight. We all want transformation. We want our mind to be better. So how we do that is purifying, collecting merit. That's what we do through the seven limb, and making requests, opening up our heart with a sort of devotion to the Buddha, to our teachers, to the Sangha, and saying, I want this. You are who have achieved this. I would like this also to open up in my heart. So that's what a request is. May I become like that, like you. Holy body, we say together, holy body created by 10 million excellent virtues, holy speech fulfilling the hopes of infinite transmigratory beings, holy mind seeing all objects of knowledge just as they are, to the principle of the Shakyas I make requests. So we're going to do a few mantras, Tayata Omuni, just to prepare. So this is preparing our mind. So now we can meditate. We'll take a short break after the mantra. Then we're going to meditate on one of the points in Guru devotion. So this is preparing the mind for that analytical meditation. Because the fourth point, purify, collect merit, making requests. The fourth one is meditation. So here we're still purifying, getting the mind ready for a little bit of analysis. Dayada om mene mene maha munaye soha. Dayada om mene mene maha munaye soha. Dayada om mene mene maha munaye soha. Dayada om 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 mene maha munaye soha. So again, feeling the light, the purifying light, washing out our kind of inner obstacles, gross, subtle, very subtle, the ones we're aware of, the one we're not aware of, deep clean of the mind. And then this kind of golden light coming now, just filling up the body with golden light, like the environment we need to meditate in. So before we take a few minutes break, we're just going to recite this verse from Lamazon Kappa. So this is how we usually do practice. So we do a guru yoga practice. Today we did Shakyamuni Buddha. Again, thinking the Buddha is our guru, our spiritual teacher. Holding that awareness. And then after we've done the purification accumulation requests, we recite a Lamrim prayer. And we try and reflect on that verse, you know. So today, we're going to do this one verse, the foundation of all good qualities. A verse from this prayer, very famous, one of the most popularly read prayers of Lamazon Kappa in the Galut tradition. Going through all the points of the Lamrim, so we're going to focus on the first verse. So let's read it together. The foundation of all good qualities is a kind and perfect guru. Correctly following the guru is the root of the path. By clearly seeing this and applying great effort, please bless me to rely upon the guru with great respect. So we're just going to recite that one, because that's the one we're going to reflect on. So because it's good not to meditate for long periods, just let's take a couple of minutes. If anyone needs to go to the restroom, we'll just do like 3-4 minutes if you need to go to the restroom, or just move your body a little bit. But just trying to hold, we're not going to talk, just holding the energy of the meditation, but just taking a slight break before we go into the analytical meditation. So let's be back in at 20 past. So again, just bringing to mind again that sort of sun-like presence. So we don't have to, it's great if you can visualize. Some of us are more visual than others. You know, also feeling the presence is equally important. Oh, okay. Feeling the presence is equally important, like the sun, you know, sort of radiating there. So, you know, as we've said a few times, Dharmakaya, the mind of the Buddha, is omnipresent. It's there all the time. We just need to tune in, find that frequency. And that's what these prayers do. They help us to tune in and feel the presence, receive the blessing, allow it to be there. So we're kind of there in that environment. So when we reflect now on the topics, something starts to shift a little bit in the mind. Not all the time. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but we get little insights of that topic. So we're going to recite that verse again, just to remind us, bring us back. The foundation of all good qualities is a kind and perfect guru. Correctly following the guru is the root of the path. By my clearly seeing this and applying great effort, please bless me to rely upon the guru with great respect. Okay. So we're going to do 3 different meditations on the topic relying on the guru. Each one maybe about 20 minutes, more analytical style. And we'll have a short break between each one. First one is thinking about why the reliance on a teacher, why we need that, why we need a spiritual teacher. Just getting that a little bit more clear, heartfelt maybe in our being, in our hearts, in our minds. Because it's often the case that we think with meditation that we can sort of do it on our own, With teachings, we can just read books and we'll be okay. But, with anything in our life, whatever we've tried to develop in our life, whether it's a certain training, certain quality or skill, I think it always comes a lot faster when we have guidance. We have a teacher, we have somebody showing us the ropes. I mean, even for a young age, we needed parents to show us how to walk, to eat, to, just wash, just the basic fundamentals, that we need to function as a human in the world. We need a parent or somebody to guide us because we become into the world a bit like helpless worms, I mean, we wouldn't survive without the parents or someone, whoever it was who took care. Even if they didn't do what we felt the best job, we absolutely needed that care. So we need to recognize that kindness and the support that we needed and have needed throughout our lives, to develop in any way, to become, more qualified in any aspect of our life, whether it's through the mind or through the body or, a training physically. We need guidance. There's no question. We need teachers. Maybe we can think back to a time, something we did learn to do, where we had a good teacher and how that really nurtured and supported us to grow more quickly in that area. Or a parent that nurtured and supported us to get where we are now. Either a teacher, a parent, or a friend who was like a good mentor for us in our lives. Maybe we can touch into a sense of gratitude for that person. And also a sense of humility through recognizing what they brought into our lives, into that particular quality that we're trying to develop, how much we needed them, how much of a support they were for us. So now, in the case of spiritual development, we're talking about the mind, the development of consciousness, Buddha nature. It's a very subtle phenomena. Mind, delusions, the path to enlightenment. Here we're moving into very unknown territory within ourselves. It's like uncharted for us. We may have we've definitely done some spiritual development in our past life, but we don't carry all that knowledge with us necessarily. We need to retrain, regroup in the next life. We need to relearn things and continually develop that development. So as long as our mind's in this state of not seeing how phenomena exist clearly, not seeing the nature of I or self clearly, we do exist. It's not like we're nothing. We have an incredible potential for awakening our enlightened wisdom, the mirror of the mind that can see all phenomena. But right now that's clouded by the delusion. So teacher becomes like an antidote, a qualified spiritual guide who's traversed a good amount of the path, or is at least traversed more of the path than you, has developed some of the qualities. That one's like an antidote or a medicine, very powerful medicine for our own confusion. So it's a bit like we're patients, this analogy. And the teacher dispenses medication, the medication of the Dharma. It is really like that. The more the mind gets better, the more we feel like, oh, this Dharma is like a medicine. It's just healing and supporting my mind, my Buddha nature, so it can come out more and breathe. Once the delusions start to get thinner in the mind, have less control. So a really qualified teacher's like an antidote, a medicine for our mind, who can see step by step which level of medication we need to take next, which practices, which teachings we need to do. It's very precious to have a qualified doctor like that in our lives. As His Holiness the Dalai Lama says, the teacher acts like a very qualified sort of guide. So if we wanted to climb Mount Everest, there's no way you're going up there without a guide. I mean, it's dangerous. We may get there, but the chances are we could get lost. It could be a danger to our life. It'll take a long time if we don't take a guide with us. So when the Buddhas look at us, it's the same way, you know, trying to do that ourselves is like trying to climb Mount Everest on our own. I mean, it's kind of scary, you know. But if we lean on qualified guides, qualified teachers, then wow, we can get there at a good, gentle pace and have great hopes to reach the top, you know, to eventually reach enlightenment. And step by step, not just at the beginning or the middle or the end, we have to rely on the guide step by step. Same with the spiritual path. I mean, we can do it with books. We could do it with books. We could do it on our own, but it's not sure we're going to get to the top and we might get completely lost. And also, as Lama Yeshe says, one of the primary purposes, needs, kind of great joys of finding a spiritual teacher is because we need this kind of, as Lama puts it, an organic kind of force, living force to come in touch with our hearts. To get this kind of spiritual energy or blessing coming into our hearts to uplift us, to inspire us to practice more. It needs to be live and organic. So we need these kind of living examples of the teachers. So in some traditions, other religious traditions, there's not a lot of like masters who really embody the teachings anymore. It's more like out of the books, out of the texts. You read their stories of their lives, you know, and we get inspiration from that, but it's not the same as meeting and having a living master who's embodying the qualities, or a teacher who embodies some of the qualities. It's a great inspiration, a source of inspiration, a source of energy for us. And when we develop some kind of faith in that being's qualities, some kind of conviction, some inspiration for that, becomes like fuel for us on our spiritual path. It really gives us energy to want to practice, become, even develop some of the qualities that they have. So we need a spiritual teacher for that, for the fuel that we need to go up the mountain, the spiritual practice, to traverse these unknown aspects of consciousness, mind, realizations. Because it can get tough at times, we can get lost. So we need this constant guide, to show us out, and we need their kind of this energy of the living example to show it's possible. So with some faith, some openness from our side, that kind of force of blessing or inspiration can seep through from the relationship with your spiritual teacher, through thinking about them with respect and the kind of remembering the kindness, opening up that seed of faith within us and being in their presence brings about a huge amount of light, joy, inspiration for us, like fuel, for our practice. Anyone who's been around His Holiness the Dalai Lama, maybe even watching his teachings, allowing Lama Zopa Rinpoche, or any teacher, we feel like it just perks us up, We feel like we can keep going. So we need the teacher for that inspiration. Because in many other traditions that don't have that really powerful living example, it's much harder to practice. It's much harder to keep going. So we're fortunate we have, quite many examples of people, either Sangha who have progressed or, great gurus who have developed a huge amount of qualities on the path. So just take a moment yourself to see, even if they're not gurus right now, but maybe teachers. If there are gurus, yeah, if they're teachers, taking a moment to see how much just being in their presence, hearing their teachings, that presentation, how it's helped you, supported you. How important it is to have, teachers, and not to feel we need to or we should go it alone. So even though, enlightenment might feel far away, which is fine. It's graspable, it's possible, it's attainable, but it might feel far right now. That's okay. But even for the step-by-step development of the mind from one happiness to the next, it's like that step-by-step moving up the mountain to get closer and closer to the top. It can be very easy to get lost. So we do need the constant input of kind of living teachers, the input that are got that blessing of the mind, the inspiration of the mind from the presence of a teacher that inspires you through their guidance, through their teachings, through their advice, It's like anything that, especially something more subtle that we want to develop, the development of the mind and consciousness is so vast. So we do need that sort of constant support of a teacher. See if you can just come to that conclusion. So just to conclude this meditation, we can dedicate how wonderful it would be, just like we pray for in that 7-limb practice, when we asked in one of the lines, please remain until samsara ends. So that is basically creating an imprint on our mind to always meet spiritual, recognizing that spiritual teacher is helping me, whether it's the Buddha right now or teachers, and recognizing the need to always meet them. Keep the thread of connection. Even though life gets busy, our motivation can kind of dwindle a bit in the busyness of life, but maybe all keep the thread of the kind of feeling the need to have spiritual teachings, have a spiritual teacher, in whatever way we can, serve them, follow their advice, practice, even if the thread becomes so thin in our life, but just to hold that. And may the teachers always hold us in that practice. So how wonderful it would be if me and myself and all beings always had the openness, the merit from our side to meet spiritual teachers. And always were to able to keep that from life to life to life till we reach the mountaintop enlightenment, The mountaintop liberation from karma and delusions. The mountaintop infinite deep peace. I mean, that's what that quality of mind is, a deep, everlasting peace, no longer disturbed by anger. I mean, for Buddha's anger, they have not had anger for eons, Attachment, ignorance, that's all gone, But not through not putting the effort, and not through not relying on qualified teachers. So we may all have that fortune to keep that thread of connection with meeting a qualified teacher life after life after life. And from our side, practicing however much we can, life after life after life. So let's take maybe 10 minutes, and then we'll do about another 20 minutes or 20, 25 minutes of meditation and have a bit of a longer break, and then question answer. So yeah, Actually, no, just 5 minute break, sorry, 5 minutes. And then we'll do another 20 minutes of meditation and have a little bit longer break and Q&A and one more meditation at the very end. So next meditation on is trying to develop the mind of devotion. How do we do that? How do we meditate on that? So we'll do about 20 minutes of meditation on that and 5 minutes. Okay, so we do about another 20 minutes. We'll have a little bit more of a break. So again, usually before we start analytical meditation, we just want to take a moment to, we always need this kind of stream of blessing for the mind to shift, because if we just sit and analyze something without a little bit practice before, kind of nurturing the mind with some sort of blessing in the mind stream, then it's hard for the mind to shift. It might shift once or twice, but over time you'll find it won't move, won't feel the topic, what we're meditating on. It won't move into the heart easily. So again, just feeling the presence of Shakyamuni Buddha, omniscient mind, Dharmakaya is always there. That's the quality of the Buddha mind. Buddha got enlightened many years ago. His Holiness Lama Zopa Rinpoche, they're only here. Even Kandrila expressed about Lama Zopa Rinpoche, his ordinary aspect passed away, That's like our bodies, that's impermanent. But it's not possible. And the more we study this, get some conviction, not possible for the Buddha mind to pass away. Even our mind doesn't finish, after this life. It's not developed like Buddha mind. It can't embrace all beings with compassion like Buddha mind. It doesn't see the nature of phenomena yet like Buddha mind, but it can do that. So the Buddha got enlightened, eons ago, so he could embrace us, be there for us when we want to step up and work on our mind, get better. So as soon as we, again, tuning in to the frequency of the Buddhas, trying to communicate with them, and that's how we do it, through the vehicle of these praxis. So imagining the Buddha, feeling the presence of Shakyamuni Buddha there. Just like we see this beautiful statue behind me, it's like the Buddha's always on our crown, always in front of us, present. And there's another short request we can make, and I'll just say it. I didn't write it down, but you can think about it, one really nice, simple request. May my mind become Dharma, Dharma become the path, and the path be free of all obstacles. So our mind always to be kind of resonating with the Dharma, thinking about Dharma. Not in a neurotic way, but just being spiritually aware, spiritually open. And how do we develop that as well with a quality of faith, a little bit faith opening up. How do we stay spiritually open, spiritually soft? Well, in relationship to the connection with the teacher, it's through remembering their kindness. Nurturing this heart of devotion, this openness, receptivity to the teachings and the blessings, the lineage of masters, is by nurturing devotion in an organic way. When we remember the kindness of the teachers, it's like bringing a sense of warmth to that seedling in our mind, that's there. but it needs a bit of warmth, to sprout. Like any baby seed, needs a bit of warmth, a bit of moisture, taken care of, attention. So it's kind of the beginnings, the middle, and the end of nurturing this heart of devotion is recognizing and reflecting on the kindness of the friend, the teacher that causes you to become more virtuous, that supports you in your spiritual path, step by step development, baby steps on the path, all the way up through the higher steps, I mean, it makes sense. Anytime someone's been kind to us and we remember that, the mind gets a bit softer towards them, a bit more open and receptive. Somebody gives us a present, we open up to that person. Somebody says something nice, we open up to that person. Somebody says something we don't like, harsh words, somebody's not kind to us, they forget to give us a birthday present. Somebody we care about, they forget about us. Mind closes up. But when we remember kindness, the mind opens, softens towards that person. We feel more close. So it's just the same process with the spiritual teacher, recognizing their kindness. Sometimes people are kind to us a lot, but we don't recognize it. We don't think about it. Like mothers or parents, whoever nurtured you when you were young, we didn't think about it. But when we look back, there was so much kindness, that we have to think about it. We tend to focus on what they didn't do for us often. So like that with the teacher, we nurture that devotion, that closeness to the teacher by focusing on the kindness. So how do we nurture that feeling of softness, devotion towards the teacher? Remember, there's 4 ways that we remember the kindness of the teacher. So we'll reflect on at least 2 or 3 of these now. And again, we have to recognize, remember, and then, it's like we have to meditate on this, or otherwise we just don't think about it. It doesn't cross our mind. So Lama Yeshe used to use this expression: "Are we communicating, dear?" When you're in front of like beings like that, great yogis, practitioners, it's like you can feel that they have to come down a bit wherever they are, whatever realm they're in, to communicate with us. So Lama Yeshe used to say to the students, "Are we communicating, dear? Do you hear what I'm saying?" So what does that really mean? It means that, so the first kindness that we think about is that the teacher is actually kinder than all the Buddhas who came in the past. There's lots of Buddhas that came. We're in a period of time that's called an eon or a kalpa, and it's composed of something like 4 or 5 billion years. So it's been predicted that in this kalpa, this good kalpa or eon, 1,000 Buddhas will appear. And now there's been already 3, Shakyamuni Buddha is the 4th. And over these billions of years, there's still going to be another, 96. Maitreya Buddha is the next one. But, we didn't have the fortune to meet Shakyamuni Buddha in person. Or if we did, we don't remember. And we certainly didn't get enlightened at that time, because here we are. So how we think the Buddha's, the teacher's kind, is that it's like we didn't meet all them, all the past Buddhas, and even before, there was many, many infinite Buddhas come, but we didn't meet them. But who's communicating the Buddha's teachings to us right now are the gurus, the spiritual teachers. They communicate with us according to our level of mind. As Lama Yeshe said, are we communicating dear? So we receive the Buddha's teachings through the teachers that are here with us right now. Even Lama Zopa Rinpoche, when he was alive, we received the Buddha's teachings through that aspect. The pure lineage of teachings, vows, initiations, everything through the teacher that's right in front of us, you know, that we've accepted as our teacher. That's they are the vessel for the Buddha's teaching. So how kind, how fortunate that is, how kind that teacher is, appearing in that way for me. So again, if we don't have a teacher right now, we think about, if you have a teacher, you imagine that teacher the same as Shakyamuni Buddha in the space before you. They're together like one essence. There's no separation. Like His Holiness and Shakyamuni Buddha, I mean, there's no question His Holiness is like a Buddha. The more we listen to the teachings, see his activities. So you can imagine them if His Holiness is your teacher. And even if you've just received teachings from, you know, like what we call more like on a professor level, or a meditation trainee level, but not really accepting as your teacher now, we can think they're like pores of the Buddha helping you right now. So how kind that is. We think about that kindness. This is how the Buddhas are communicating with me through these aspects, how precious that is, how kind that is. And we actually bring it to mind as a meditation and think. Lama Zopa Rinpoche used to say it's like a mantra. How precious that is, how kind that is. This aspect that I can communicate, I can hear, it benefits my mind. There might be a Buddha next door, but if they taught, I wouldn't be able to understand it. I can understand through this being here right now, how precious it is, how kind it is. So we try and remember that kindness. And then to add to the flavor of the meditation, we think about their kindness in terms of appearing in that way, and then also teaching us according to what fits for our mind. You know, giving us the medication like bit by bit, you know, so that it fits in our mind well, like bite-sized chunks, you know. We're not overwhelmed, we can digest. That teaching helps us, it supports our mind. So remembering their kindness in giving teachings. And this is the main way that the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas guide us, is through the teachings, through the text, through the living transmission of the teachings, giving an initiations, oral transmissions, explaining, giving commentaries on, you know, the original teachings of the Buddha in a way that right now for our country, our culture, our time, we can take in, we can practice. It fits for our mind. So how wonderful that is, how precious, how kind that is of that teacher. So as we do this, we try to allow, as we think each kindness, we try to allow the mind to a little bit fill up with the kindness, you know, see if it can just soften and open us more to the Buddha, more to our teacher, even more towards like whoever is helping you right now, just even as a pore of your future teacher that you might meet. If we develop even some respect and recognition of the kindness at any level of spiritual development, any teacher, even if they don't become your actual teacher, but just nurturing the respect and the remembering the kindness, then it creates the cause to meet other levels of spiritual teacher that we need as we develop along the path, and to have a healthy relationship at each level. So are there any other ways that you think your present tutors, guides, or your current teachers have been kind to you? You reflect on that for a few moments. It's almost like you're writing down in a notebook the kindness and then just bringing it to your heart. And then we finish by doing just a few mantras of Shakyamuni Buddha again, just to try and stabilize any feeling, feeling an openness, that sense of kindness of the spiritual guides, teachers, or the Buddha, what we've received either directly or really indirectly through the teachers, but it's all coming from the Buddha. Allowing that to stabilize a sort of opening a devotion through remembering the kindness of the teachers. And so making a prayer through just reciting the mantra, we all remember, even in the tough times, we have tough times sometimes with teachers, but if we remember the kindness, it helps. It softens a little bit that toughness so we can keep going. It gives us more strength to keep going because we understand that teacher as only our highest benefit in mind, only wants our happiness, only wants all our happiness up to enlightenment. That's a qualified guide, what they want, even though it looks tough at times. So by nurturing devotion, it allows us to go through the tough times. Remembering the kindness allows us to soften in the tough times. So we'll just finish with a few mantras. Tayada Om Mune Mune Maha Munaye Soha. 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 And we dedicate, may I and all beings be able to cultivate and nurture this root of the path devotion towards our teachers in a healthy, organic, consistent way, which acts like a very strong source of support for the trunk, So devotion's like the root, Flammasoperim, she says. And it supports the trunk, which is the path that we need to keep following, which eventually results in the insights, the fruit, the branches in the fruit is spiritual insight and realization. So it's exactly like that. The more we develop this, remembering the kindness, qualities, nurturing the mind of devotion, that much more the path will grow in our minds, and that much more the branches and fruits, the spiritual insight will develop. So may we all have the courage, kind of inner fortitude and the fortune to be able to keep practicing in this way, continually relying, whether it's easy, whether it's tough, on the qualified teacher, as the root of the path. Okay. So we'll take a 15-minute break. We'll come back at 12:25 so we can have a tea or something. And then we'll come back for question answer. So hopefully you've got some questions or comments, or I don't get it, or whatever it is, it doesn't matter, So we'll see you at 12:25 and we'll have a little bit of discussion, and then we'll finish with one more meditation on the qualities, how you develop devotion through kind of remembering the qualities of the spiritual teacher. Okay, thank you. See you in 15 minutes. So I wanted to, for the next 20 minutes or so, see if we can just have a bit of discussion, because I've only got one more meditation left that we're going to do. And I generally feel like three's kind of enough. It's almost like 3, 4. We can get meditated out, and that's, it's like taking too much medicine, for the mind, and you're like, oh. So I don't want people to leave with that effect, and that's good for when you're meditating yourself, small doses. It's, like you take supplements 3 a day, and, when you're getting better, what is it you do? 3 times a day, such and such, or any kind of even Western meds, you have to take it twice a day or every 4 hours or it's like that with meditation, and you don't take it all at once in the morning, a big dose, and you're like, oh, I'm not doing that again, So we have to be like that with our mind, because our mind is, the premise, really, the whole premise of the Four Noble Truths is really thinking like, okay, it's not to beat ourselves up, but our minds are confused, our minds are under the state of delusion, our minds are sick. I mean, I'm wary to say that to us as Westerners, because we already feel bad about ourselves. And it's like, oh, I'm sick on top of this. But it's kind of supposed to be enlightening news, not depressing. So try to make it enlightening, that yes, you're right. You come to the Dharma Center because you've got a problem. You have a problem, and you have a lot of more on top of it. And then people run away, I can only deal with one problem at once. That's fine. We can deal with your anger first. That's okay. We can deal with your strong desires first. That's okay. But you have a whole other stream of stuff going on too, So, but it's just being very practical. We're healing, if we've got a long-term sickness, we don't expect to go to the doctor and have a couple of weeks and we'll be okay. It doesn't work like that. So it's like that with the mind. So approaching always with that. Our innate quality is we're good. We are good. We are healthy. We have all this incredible Buddha nature, but it's just sometimes it feels more kind of drowning than others, So slowly, as we take the medicine, the Dharma, we feel less like we're stuck in what's it called, the mud, or this place when you go into quicksand. It's like, like that. But, as we get out of the praxis help us to get out of the quicksand of our delusions. They really do that, but we need to keep step by step. And the inspiration of the teacher is like so... I mean, I think we can all see that, like when you go and see His Holiness, we're all like, wow, for those of us who have been, like blows your mind away, and you're like, oh, I can do this, or you just feel better, at least for a while. So, but inspiration of teachers it's like really, really important, we do need that. So, and that's what keeps you going. I mean, certainly for me, without Lama's opera, I mean, there's no way, you know. I mean, I went through, you go through tough stuff. And then what I see with Westerners, they start the practices and then some tough stuff, and then they just disappear for a while. It's like, no, that's a good sign. Tough stuff coming up can be a good sign. I had a lot of tough stuff coming up in the early days. I mean, I was sort of blissed out for a while. Then after the honeymoon period, then, you know, all this junk comes out, you know. But that was okay because I got through the junk through the blessing of the guru and your Huku devotion and, you know, you're okay, just keep going. So you do need a teacher to say that to you and to inspire you to keep going because it's not all a honeymoon. The honeymoon ends. Like relationships, yeah? I mean, that's why I'm saying that. Most of us are in them or have been in them. And there's a wonderful honeymoon period. Oh, I love this person. They're so great. And then slowly, 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 you know, oh, they're not perfect, pardon? Oh, they're really not perfect. Oh dear, you know. So, but you know, it's like if you love them, if you develop a sincere love and karma and all these things, you know, we stay there somehow. And also checking that it's beneficial and all these things, you know. I'm not always saying you have to stay there, but it's similar with the guru, you know. If you a teacher, if you care for that one, if you develop this mind of remembering the kindness, remembering the qualities through this tough stuff, that's what will hold you, keep you held onto this rope, you know, like we had in the image. I had in the image of the last slideshow, you know, coming up the well. Rimshi uses that. You need to hold on because we have this precious human life. We have this incredible freedom. Many countries, they can't even practice spiritual what they want. Tibet, they do, but it's very hard. It's to be very hidden in Tibet, your spiritual practice. They're not allowed to have an image, His Holiness. They're not allowed to talk about karma, ripening, you know, very heavily. So we still have spiritual freedom here. We still have whatever spiritual teachings we want to do, we have access. We're not confined by like one religion, one culture, one thing. We still have that now, but we don't know how long for. You know, we don't know, you know. Karma can change. Tibetans probably thought it was always going to be like that, you know. So not to be more freaked out, but it's just the nature that things are impermanent. Karmas in countries and cultures change all the time. So to be just joyous that we have it right now, because when the times when it's more difficult, we'll already have the strength of practice and devotion. You know, but it does take some years. Anyway, questions. Bay, did you have a question? You're holding on to the mic? No, you were just having it for everyone else. Be nice to have some. Anybody? Questions or comments about the meditation? Oh, yeah. Rishmika?
Is it on? Oh,
Okay.
Venerable Angie, I would love for you to please do a recap of some of the things that one can do to prepare to meet a teacher.
To prepare to meet. I think, you know, so what we can do, I think I was going to do this in the last meditation, like when you do any of your sitting practices, you can make requests to meet your teacher, to recognize. I would just say recognize. I mean, I met Rimshi before I knew he was my teacher. So you might have met them already, but you're not really like hooked. And that's okay. You know, you take time. So I met Rimshi, but I actually was thinking, I think I want someone else to be my teacher. Believe it or not. That's how delusional I was. Because I'm like, well, you know, I had these friends who had, you know, they were really close to their gurus. I met these two other people who like, they had so much time and one of them stayed at their guru's house. And I'm like, well, I want to be like that. And I'll never be able to stay. Because I was in India at the time and the only way I'd seen Rimshi in an appointment with a few people. But also I knew that Rimshi had hundreds, thousands of students. He was really famous. And I thought, well, there's no way I'm going to get any time. So it wasn't about Rimshi's lack of quality, or you know, I was still quite new, but I'm like, well, I think I really want a teacher who I can have more time with, you know, and I'm just not. There's no way, you know. So that's why I had a bit of resistance. But you know, I did when I was doing my purification practices. I kept saying, well, I meet my, you know, every time I dedicate to meet my teacher and do it. And I'd already met Rimshi one time, and I thought it was nice, but I wasn't like. Um, but then it came very clear in those praxis that Rimshi was my teacher, and I'm like, well, okay then. It was just kind of like, okay, I have to accept it then. However it comes out, this is my teacher, you know. And then when I met Rinpoche after that, it was very clear to me that he was my, it just kind of, this heart thing happened, you just get this like, oh, wow. So it actually pans out differently for everyone. But the main thing is you need to go to teachings for a while. You need to, talk to the other students, make some prayers, do some your own practices. And just gradually, maybe someone you've already met, you feel like, wow, wait a minute, this is really my teacher. Or it's someone else that you meet and you go to a few teachings. It's like you have this kind of strong feeling, that that's my teacher. But exploring for a while is the best, checking out, exploring, not in a hurry, because generally we meet the teacher that we need. If we're doing like that, practicing sincerely, we'll meet the teacher, especially doing some of these Shakyamuni Buddha mantra and all that. They have some power that when you will meet the teacher that you need at that time. Yeah, this is who I need right now. And even if it's not the guru, but I'm doing that right now, and I'm praying to maybe meet one at some point when I'm ready, I might meet another level of teacher, and I'm praying for that when I'm ready to meet the right teacher, because also there's no point in meeting them when you're not ready. Oh, you go up there, oh, you're my teacher. Okay, can you do this and that? No, I'm too busy. I've got kids, I've got family, I don't have time for any of that. Well, what's the point? Can't go to their teachings. You don't, and that's not, that is the reality when you've got children and kids and everything. So when we meet a teacher, it's almost like the one that we can work with right now, and we have got time in our life, because when you really connect with maybe like a guru figure, I mean, you do need to cultivate that relationship by attending the teachings, following their advice, meditating on what they tell you to teach. So it's like maybe it's good enough right now with what we're doing, and just make dedications to just always meet. I think better always meet the teachers I need at the right time than I need to meet this guru up there. May I, that verse, may I always meet, and always, what was it there? Please remain until samsara ends. As long as I'm samsara, may I always meet the teachers that I need to meet, that where I am right now with my life and my commitments, and my this and that. So I can still feel like I'm following at least what this teacher's telling me, or what this sangha, what this professor, or whatever. That's where I am right now. And, may I always just continue to meet teachers as I grow and develop. Qualified teachers, not just any old teachers, but yeah, who are qualified to guide me on the path to enlightenment, step by step. Does that help? So Dana's got a question here as well. Oh, you have a comment, good.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank you for teaching Guru Devotion. I felt like it was a very sweet experience for me. And 2.5 years ago, when I went to some teachings, it was very anxiety producing. I got the feeling that you have to get a guru now. It was the teachings, it was the long rim, it was the senior students in the class. So, and it could have just been my mind, right? But I was very afraid that I had to do this right away. And after your teachings, I'm realizing I can wait, right? It's like, and the word that you used that really resonated with me was really, it's an organic experience. It's not something you sort of rush into. It just, you'll know, right? And I remember when you said to Asha to pray, and I'm not ready to do that. I'm not ready to pray for a guru yet. So I feel really good about that. And you just said that there's some gurus with 100,000 students or 1,000 students. Is that a comment that you made?
I mean, Lama Zopa Rinpoche had thousands of students.
Right.
I mean, people who connected with Rinpoche through initiation. I mean, Rinpoche travelled extensively giving initiations, vows. So then that qualifies you as being a student. I mean, how many, he still had hundreds of really close students, Rinpoche, and thousands of people who connected with Rinpoche through teachings, through initiations. I mean, depending on how close they were is dependent on how much you practice, follow the advice and do the practices. But in terms of many people, thousands of people regarded Rinpoche as one of their spiritual teachers, Whether they may have other teachers as well, because there's the root guru and I've got many teachers, but Rinpoche is what we call the root guru, the one that benefits the mind the most. And that takes a time to figure out because you need to they can't benefit your mind if you're not there, you're not doing the praxis and following the advice and all that. So yeah, His Holiness has hundreds of thousands. I mean, he's got just, all the monks and all the monasteries are all students of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So these are like high level gurus, but there's some great gurus who have few disciples, but they're still totally qualified. Different gurus, these type of beings benefit in different ways. Some of them are like still incredibly, high level of realization, but they may manifest just having a few few students. Rinpoche's aspect was traveling widely and hooking many students, and again within them, some hundreds or some thousands would do more, serve the guru, through working at centers, follow the advice through asking Rinpoche for practices and actually doing them. And there's another whole level that maybe wouldn't do that. They received a commentary, an initiation, and a teaching, or commentary and initiation, so that by that they're one of Rinpoche's one of their teachers, but they may not have followed through and they do the commitments, but they may not, do much beyond that. But Rinpoche still is their teacher for that level. So kind of their more famous level,
Okay, the other, just one more.
Yeah.
Sort of the conflict for me around, I was thinking I want to go for refuge, but learned in these teachings that, well, it's not just going for refuge. You actually take on a teacher, but not necessarily your root teacher.
Yes.
Right. So I'm not sure what that means. It's like can I be ready to go for refuge, but still have not found the teacher, or does it matter? The teacher, you see what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah, no, it's a good question because but when you take vows, commitments, initiations, due to the power of that process, they do become your teacher, so I would say, and developing devotion, as I say, a step-by-step process. So the next meditation's on seeing them as a Buddha, it's like, so I have to see this person as a Buddha, So I think, and that's, Guru devotion is one of the hardest meditations. Out of all the Lamrim, that one, developing a sort of deep, solid, healthy, organic, not like, oh, well, they're my guru and they're definitely a Buddha and that's it, it's all like kind of the excitement level. Developing that along with the next module you're going to do when you develop bodhicitta, seeing all beings as your mother. And like, especially if you've got, had a challenging relationship with your mother, that there's other ways to manage that meditation if it's uncomfortable. But basically, it's to develop a very deep closeness and respect with others, the purpose of that meditation. So this is also developing a deep and close relationship with that teacher. That's really what it's about. So that's the first part. So I think what you could say is, if you take refuge with someone, at least you always remember the kindness and focus on the qualities. That's it for starter. And I'm going to mention this. So remembering the kindness is an easier one, yeah? They gave me refuge, they gave me vows, I'm so fortunate, when I see them, I get uplifted and inspired and, I feel a blessing in my mind and, like that, you can focus. I think that one's more manageable. The next one, like, it is, I mean, definitely in this tradition, seeing them as a Buddha is important for our development as Sutra and Tantra, but it's it's particularly important at the level of Tantra. So we haven't done Tantra yet. We haven't done that module. So I think, we have to progress into these higher levels of meditation. So it's not like that person is a Buddha. So whoever you took refuge with, it's not about that person they're not necessarily a Buddha for their side, but there's a special blessing that comes when you at least try to think that, I think I mentioned that they're like pores of the Buddha. They're like an agent of the Buddha. I can't see the Buddha right now. I never met the Buddha. Maybe I did, but I don't remember. And I'm still in samsara. I didn't get enlightened at the time of the Buddha. So this is how the Buddha is guiding me through these beings. Because I'm not seeing Buddhas in the sky, can't see the Sambhogakaya, the Dharmakaya. So it's more about, at this level, thinking that having a healthy respect and veneration for your preceptor. That's a good start. You have to start with where you are, not like, I can't start over there. They're a Buddha. So you start and you build up over some years or decades that deep experience, like, actually, they are the Buddha for me, you know? For me. Not that, I mean, Lama Zopa Rinpoche used to talk about Guru devotion and say, I'm not saying I'm a Buddha here. What I'm saying is, for the development of your mind, you need to train in seeing me as like the essence. There's different ways you can express it. So I think for the beginning, you want to get up to actually seeing them as a body, the Buddha and everything, but that's at tantric level. For us as beginners, we can at least say, okay, even if the teacher gives me something difficult, I try and remember the kindness, you know, and I look at the qualities, you know, and am I able with that person to focus on the kindness and the qualities, even though maybe they're not, you know, perfect, you know, but can I keep focusing on the kindness and the qualities with that being, you know, and have a healthy communication with them, a healthy relationship, and respect them like Sangha or like pores of the Buddha. Because otherwise you'll never take refuge. Because you're like, well, I don't know if I can see any of them as a Buddha right now. So I'm going to have to wait another 10 years before I take refuge, you know. So I think it's more like step by step where you are, remembering the kind. Can I, with this being, keep a pure view with them? Not unrealistic, but just hold them with respect and remember the kindness. Is it, am I going to be able to do, even if I hear some negative stuff, am I going to be able to just respect that person for the qualities they do have? Holding vows, practicing for many years, teaching. I'll just focus on the kindness. Because there are times when, you take a teacher and then you hear all these, these things happen. Then negative stuff comes out about that teacher, some aspect of their behavior. So this has happened to me. This has happened to everybody. And it's like, oh, they're my teacher. And then the mind goes down. And then we see them like black, That's not good. And that's why? Because it's not good for our practice. It blocks your ability to get blessings. So what they say, and I was going to bring this up in this class, what they say in these times is if you start to hear negative stuff, it doesn't mean that you're not aware of it, but you're not like focused on that and feeling like they're a demon now and they're this and I've given up on the teachings because my teacher did this and do. And these things can happen, but actually it's a test to your mind, It's not like giving up. It's like, okay, well, I still feel that I can see that being in a pure way. And for whatever reason, that's what they did. That's fine. But I'm still going to respect that teacher for what they've given to me, for the qualities they do have. Even His Holiness has had stories about his teacher there, this teacher there. But he said, well, that might be that, but I still hold my teacher with respect and veneration for what they've given to me. Now, you might decide if the stories are so strong that I might not take any more teachings for that teacher, but I'm still going to hold them in what we call equanimity, not negative. Just thank you so much for the teachings. I appreciate you. I'm still going to have you on my field of merit, but I've decided to not take more teachings, not letting the mind of devotion go down. And these are tricky places to go. They're tricky and we need to navigate them. And that's also why you need teachers who can help you navigate when sometimes a relationship with another teacher gets challenging. Then you ask the Sangha or another teacher how to deal with that, because for sure they've been through that. I mean, we have to go through challenges. So that's why it's good to take time to choose your teachers, and then remember that if you hear something or you see something, it's like, but I'll just focus on what they have given me. And not that I'm not aware of that. It's like any relationship. I try and focus on the good things about this person. My husband, my partner, I'm aware of the other stuff. But I can't respect them if I'm just focused on the other stuff all the time. So I'm aware of that. And the more compassion we have, the more we're like, okay, I've got patience and kindness for that, but I don't want to be involved in that right now. So it's like you get, you know, you might not completely divorce, but you might separate and say, okay, I'm not going to listen to too many more teachings about teachers, but I still respect you, and I feel grateful for everything you've done and we've had in a relationship. But now I'm going into this, I'm going to focus and rely more on this other teacher. But not like, oh, my past's finished now because this guru did that, and I heard some rumor or story, and then it's all like, and I just give up. And that's like you lose, your loss. It's actually the most unskillful way to practice because you lose everything. Your mind just closes up. Your devotion just closes up. It's like you become like a desert inside. So, and even the great gurus have been through all that manner of things. So how did they do it and how had they realized? And I'm not because we go down the minute we feel like, oh, my teacher did this. It's all like gloom and doom, you know? So it's very good to, rely on more mature students or teachers at that time when things get a bit shaky in any situation in your spiritual path, you know. Try and rely, and sometimes the advice you get, you might not like it. But then you have to sit and think with it. Think, well, they're doing better than I am, so maybe I need to just sit with this. You might not like it in the beginning, but you need to work on that. Rimshi gave me stuff sometimes, and I'm like, I didn't always like it, but it's what I needed. Eventually, I saw that it's what I needed. So yeah, I mean, we're talking about, you know, preceptors might not be your root guru, but somebody you appreciate as a holder of monastic discipline, a holder of, you think, someone who's got good refuge in the teachings, you know. That's who a refuge preceptor would be for you. Doesn't have to be your root guru and everything all in there, you know. It's just someone who you feel has that quality and that you can hold, you feel like you're going to be able to hold a level of respect and devotion for them, even if you hear other stories, you know. Does that help? Ladan.
Yes, thank you so much for teaching. I have a question about when you have several teachers that you have some affinity with them, you can understand what they are teaching, but they are not in the same lineage, like they are different lineages. Is it like how it can be affect our practice, or is it like we need to have everybody in the same lineage, or
No, Ladan, you don't have to have everybody in the same lineage at all. I mean, we're not sectarian here, like, oh, you can only have Geluk teachings if you're a Galupa. I mean, my personal karma was that Lama Zopa Rimshi was my guru, but Rimshi took teachings, he had teachers from all the traditions. So some of the praxis Rimshi gave us were from other, Kagyu, Nigma, I mean, predominantly Galupa, predominantly. But I think it's just, it's really, and sometimes it's good to test, to have karma with other traditions. You might do it for a while and say, no, really, it's really stronger for me with the Galuk teachers, you know? And other times you feel like, no, wait a minute, I think, I really enjoy this teacher in another lineage, so that's okay. There's not, you don't have to be in one lineage, I think in the beginning, as beginners, it's not good to cross too many lineages because you just get mixed up with the presentations. But as we develop, we might want to take in a little bit from the other traditions, the other lineages, the other schools.
Yeah.
But I think in the beginning, too much of that shopping around in Nigma, Kagyu, Sakya, it's just like you just get a mixed bag a little bit. So I think for beginners, most of us, it can be good to stick with one lineage for a while and then supplement if we need, or if we feel like a teacher's particularly benefiting our mind with another lineage. That's what I would say.
And thank you for that. I have another question about our root guru. Is it like possible to have like Buddha Shakyamuni as our root guru, as we said that all the Buddhas are the same and all the teachers are the aspect of the Buddha? Why don't we do just Shakyamuni like a root guru, and then, I mean, if we don't meet a root guru.
I mean, can you talk directly to Shakyamuni Buddha? Can you see him? You just close your eyes and he's right there. saying, Ladan, you need to do 100,000 prostrations. Ladan, you need to go exploring Buddhism. Ladan, you need to work on your anger. Can you?
No. But I mean, I don't have root guru yet, so
That's okay though. I mean, root guru, even when I met Rimshi, I knew he was my guru, but I didn't feel like, oh, he's my root guru. That takes time. That takes developing a relationship, following the advice, serving the teacher, and I mean, I'm not just like one-on-one, like you have to be at his house and in his home because you
No.
can serve him, but, going to centre, serving, following the advice, doing anything you can do, a little bit of service here and there. It takes time to develop the feeling of a root guru. A
But
teacher,
sometimes when you do, like when I do the Vajrasattva, like for purification, in one part you say that Vajrasattva is my root guru, and I want to be him at like after
well, I
seeing.
think there is probably, depends what translation you're doing, and but you can also just say, I think it means, when you have a root guru, then Vajrasattva and the root guru are inseparable.
Yeah.
You do that meditation. When you don't do one, you just think, well, my guru right now is Vajrasattva, but how wonderful if I could meet my guru in person. I mean, if you've had the Vajrasattva initiation, then have you had that, an initiation? No?
No.
So when you receive an initiation at some point of Vajrasattva, then that person would be inseparable for Vajrasattva. You visualize that at the time of the initiation, and then you do that when you're practicing Vajrasattva, seeing the guru and Vajrasattva inseparable. It has a certain way to invoke the blessings of that practice more powerfully when you do that.
Okay.
And it's not because that guru says he's Vajrasattva, it's something to do with the method that makes you more quickly develop those qualities and purify, It's a method. It's a method like that. But yeah, we definitely need to, I mean, there's, when we think about others' qualities, we think about others' kindness, we get close. We think about others' faults. When we don't remember their kindness, we get distant. So it's exactly like that with the teacher.
Yeah.
It's not any different. It's actually really common sense, So you're not going to respect anybody if you're thinking about, I don't understand what they're saying, I can't handle this, and it's okay. Those feelings will come up and we need to acknowledge them. And then gradually work on this mind of devotion. We need to acknowledge these challenges that are coming up, but not just completely get overwhelmed and just leave it at that, This is why we have these meditations. They need to be worked on. It's not, we will feel moments of devotion towards our teachers and the Sangha and all that, but it's not like all the time, So that's why we have the meditations to kind of nurture the devotion on the cushion, so because, they're not there all the time, for sure. It's quite intense sometimes when you're around, high teachers and they're sort of working on your mind, But if you have this thread of devotion that you've worked on your cushion by remembering the qualities and the kindness, you're able to go through some of the challenging points.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Asha? Yep.
So following up on Dana's question, so from the practical perspective, right? Suppose when you do get ready to take refuge, but we are still looking for your guru, still exploring, would you advise to go for and take refuge? But then with who? Because then you search nearby centers, whoever is giving, but you don't have connection with the person. So I'm just logistically.
Yeah, no, there will be opportunities. We have Gyurmi Kenza Rinpoche in the area, and we do have teachers that come who give refuge,
But we may not have connection. We may not know them.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think for taking refuge, you really want to look for someone who is the main thing is for a refuge preceptor is like holding the vows, like a holder of the vows, a senior monastic who's holding the vows, who you feel a respect for, That's a minimum for a refuge preceptor, Then you're looking at vows and initiations and commentaries, and these are all like bit level bodhisattva vows, someone who's got bodhicitta. You receive these when you receive an initiation. So obviously when a lama comes to give an initiation, he has that quality. And if you know a lama's coming to a center, maybe you go and try out, listen online. I mean, there's so many lamas teach online. Listen online. And I mean, to be honest with you, in my early days, I did just go, oh, I want to take that Tara initiation, so I'm just going to go and take it for that lama. I mean, I didn't know all these details necessarily, so I ended up with like 18 teachers or something, So, but we did have a lot of qualified teachers. I mean, as I say, through our organisation, if Rinpoche's given permission for someone to give refuge, then they are fine to be a teacher for you if you feel a connection for them. So everybody in our organisation, if they've been given permission by Rinpoche, or now it's a board of a committee of teachers, then you can take refuge with them if you feel a connection with them. If a lama comes and he's given bodhisattva vows, tantric vows, then you can be assured that they have those qualities, but you might just want to check them out a little bit before, go to a few teachings and feel like you've connection. But I don't have nearly the same connection with all of my other teachers as I do with Lama Zopa Rinpoche. Sometimes I've taken an initiation and I was like, well, that was nice, that was good, and I'm doing the commitment, and I didn't see them much after that. But I wanted to take the initiation, that's just how it was in the beginning. So it's not necessarily maybe the best way to go, but a lot of us didn't have approached it like that. And I think the main thing is, you see, if you continually kind of know, at least with one teacher, understanding how to nurture, like remembering the kindness and the qualities, as you would in any relationship, even though you still see the other stuff, you nurture you're looking at the positivities, trying to see that, with any teacher. That's kind of how you nurture guru devotion, just focusing on the qualities. And then at Tantra, it's another level of focusing on the qualities. And even when you go into like more sutra, there's another level. But certainly for the side of this organisation, if someone's been given permission to give refuge, and you feel like I can, do that with this person, I think they have enough purity and enough qualities that I feel like I can get, then you can do that. Because otherwise you might be waiting forever for the perfect guru, because they're not going to appear perfect for their side. You see, Rinpoche always says that. It's like we want this perfect guru to appear, but then if our minds are not perfect, they're not going to appear perfect out there. We'll be like, oh, I don't know, I didn't hear what he was saying, and what was that? And these Tibetans about, I mean, and that's our mind. I mean, many people when they first met Rinpoche, they couldn't understand what Rinpoche was saying. I think even maybe the first time I heard Rinpoche, I struggled, but then when I something shifted when I thought about devotion or Rinpoche's qualities and how kind, and then it was all of a sudden I could hear what Rinpoche was saying. Many people had that experience with Rinpoche. It's like, who's this? And don't know what he's saying. He's speaking very quietly and do. So, but then somehow if people just sat for a bit longer or they changed their mind, they could hear what Rinpoche was. Something opened up. So this is why, like, maybe it's good. You don't have the perfect guru up there first, but you start with somebody who you can relate to, communicate with. You can start seeing their qualities and all that. And that's nurturing devotion. So when you meet the next level, you're not like, well, who's that? It's a bit foreign, don't know. You've already started devoting to that one. So it gets easier with the next ones. I mean, that's what I've found as well, So we're not going to, the perfect guru is not going to appear because we don't have the mind for it. We haven't started practicing, understanding how to like practice devotion a little bit, because that purifies the mind to see these lamas in a different way. Is that helping? Okay, any other comments?
I have
Does
a
any-
question.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's related to, I think you used this word, growing up.
Growing up.
Growing up. In terms of like the reliance on the guru, especially trying to think of like when we make requests or I guess for me, it's like, oh, we make requests. How come the guru isn't helping? And then there's this feeling of like what you said, like not very good feeling, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so how do you work with that when like the stuff come up,
Yeah.
right? Because I know that I have to work on it, but then of
Yeah.
course there's that feeling like, oh, I need to grow up and like do
Yeah.
my thing. But then there's a balance of, oh, is this something I should ask, make requests, or is this something that
You just
is,
figure out yourself.
yeah, figure out myself, because maybe that is the instruction. That is what I need to work on.
And it might be, I mean, without being able to read your mind, babe, which I can't do, but I mean, the guru just, you know, sometimes they feed you stuff to do, and other times you have to just figure out yourself. That's the reality, you know. You know, it's like we can over like, give me this, do me this, I want this, I want that. And then if there's nothing's happening, then you just have to let go and say, okay, well, just be happy where I am and just keep serving, keep doing the practice, keep doing it depends what it is, you know, without knowing the details. But you know, sometimes I would ask Rimshi for things and you don't get the answer you want. Or sometimes Rimshi would just not answer you. So you have to figure it out yourself. Sometimes you'd be totally unexpected. You're not waiting for any advice and Rimshi gives you something. You know, so it's just very, yeah, it's hard to say, you know, but using your intuition a lot's good through the guru yoga practice, you know. And you can ask, and if nothing comes, it's like, well, I'll just figure it out myself, you know. If nothing appears to be happening or you're not getting advice, you work it out. That was very similar. Like sometimes you'd ask for an appointment with Rimshi and sometimes you get it and sometimes you didn't, basically. So if you didn't get one, it would come clear what you needed to do. And if you did get one, it's because like there was a shift or a change or Rimshi needed to see you to explain. So it's very much like that in our sitting practice as well, you know. Helping a little bit. Well, I wanted to ask if anybody here, I mean, I know somebody who shared with me, I don't remember if she shared on the group, just like who's already got a teacher and how maybe something of their experience with being with a teacher and how they're working on devotion. If anybody's comfortable. Kate, great. I was hoping you would share, Kate, but I didn't want to didn't want to point you out, you know, so.
No, it's okay. Venerable Rabina Corden, I saw her teaching before I was really super Buddhist, and there's just something that I didn't quite understand why I heard everything she was saying so clearly and was feel so drawn to her. Anyway, I think it was over time I started to notice she was like one of the only people in the world that I would do whatever it is that she said, and mostly she puts a lot of Instagram stuff up and also very clear that I'm just supposed to do what she says. I mean, she's very clear, do this, do this, do this. Okay, people, go about it. And almost feeling very clear about, like thinking to myself, do I need to message her to ask her what I should be doing? And I'm like, no, it feels totally clear to me that she lays it out all the time. So there's something surreal because I'm a resistant person who has a lot of, how would I say it? Suspicion of people. I don't want to listen to advice. If you give me feedback, it takes me a day to even get myself to move in that direction. And with her, it's just not like that. I don't know what that is. So to me, that was something where it is that a lot of my focus and reminders of bringing myself back in are just things she said, and not to go on and on, but I mean, to the extent that you said, Lama Yeshe said, are we communicating? And it was like a firework went off in my brain because Venerable Rabina Corden says that repeatedly. Are we communicating, people? Are we communicating, people? So it was just hearing that phrase, it was like I was awake from that particular thing. And I don't know, I suppose when you say it's going to be different for every single person, I would just assume that this is not going to be what it's like for everybody with whatever their teacher is, because I would almost even say to myself, I'm almost guaranteed I may never need individual instruction for her, and that feels exactly what she would say to me. You know, even though I've had some emails back and forth, but I don't think that that's true for every person, or because people are very independent, or some people are independent and some people need a little bit more guidance. Anyway, and I just have I mean, there's so much devotion in my mind, and I still had a hard time with this guru topic because I don't understand what that is. So I don't know if that helps clarify anything or if that resonates for anybody else. But the number one thing for myself is, wow, how little resistance I have to her guidance is a real signal to me that this has to be my guru, is because of that. And, you know, so anyway, I just thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Kate. Yeah, no, I think that's very helpful. It's always good to hear everybody's experience and not to feel we've got all the answers right now, not to feel like we're fully devotional. We're not, you know, that develop, as I say, it's a very gradual development between you and your teacher, you know. It's a building a relationship over many years. Yeah. So we just take what we can right now and work on that, you know, the stuff we do. Zan?
Yeah, hi, thank you. I'm sorry, I'm having problems with my camera today, but listening today was kind of harkened back to times when I needed mentors in my employment, right? And there would be certain people who could explain things or give you guidance for your career, similar to what Kate was saying, that you could absorb it and you could take that information and be able to put action behind it. And others you would just completely disregard. So a lot of it I feel is personality, communication style, and what is the best way for you to learn information and process that information. Because I mean, it's no different than when we were in school. We'd have a certain teacher that would explain algebra and you would completely get it, and others that would do it and you're like, yeah, no, not happening. A plus B does not equal C. It's too vague. But I can see in times how within the teachings of the Dharma that it could be that vague, right? It's like you're asking us or telling us that we could focus on certain things or meditate on certain things or have specific mantras, but not fully understand how those equate to a positive action and change. Yeah, you just have to believe. You have to have faith. I think for Westerners, that's probably very hard for us to do because there have been so many charlatans out there that you have a difficult time in the trust end of things. Does that make sense?
Of course. That's why we do stipulate here when we teach. This is a tricky module to teach. It's not easy, to be honest with you, because you don't want to put people off taking spiritual teachers, but you want to encourage people, but you just have to be aware, because even His Holiness would talk about many lamas out there, but they can be charlatans. So that's why there's a need to check out, you know. But if you meet a doctor or a teacher that you really trust, even though you don't get all the mantras and the this and the that, you're going to try it out, just like you would if you've heard about this doctor that's really good, who can heal you. You don't know how the medicine works, right? I mean, you haven't studied it. You haven't come up with it. But you do feel like, well, that doctor knows what he's doing, so I'm going to take this pill 3 times a day, that one 3 times a day, exercise at that time, and I'll do it for a while and see if I feel better. It's exactly like that with the Dharma.
True, true. I would
It is
imagine
exactly like that, you know?
Yeah,
I mean, you just
would
have to
imagine
say,
it would be
you have
very
to have
similar.
it from someone you trust. You do need to feel a sense of trust with that person. That's why it's good to check out and go to people's teachings for a while, so the trust doesn't break when you hear a story, and you may never hear a story, but you might. Yeah. So it's good to kind of figure out the qualifications of that teacher. And as I say, in the organization here, we do our best to check out teachers. I mean, Lama Zopa Rinpoche already left us with a list of lamas who can teach in the organization. We have lists of teachers who can teach, who can give refuge, who can give bodhisattva vows, you know. So we've done our best from our side to make them as genuine and qualified as possible. So if you feel like some conviction in a teacher or whatever, then you can, hopefully because of our work that we've done, you can do that. Is that, I mean, I don't know if you were asking a question, Zan, or just sort of sharing your understanding, yeah?
More sharing my understanding. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Joel? So we'll do one more question and then we'll do a short meditation to finish. Yep, Joel.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that I first met you in 2007 and then again at the beginning of last year. And I've asked you kindly said that I can take refuge with you and some vows. And I realized that once I'd decided that I was ready for that, and I asked you, everything changed. I see you in a completely different light to how I've seen you up to that moment. I don't have the words for it, but a change has happened, and again, what Zan was saying about faith, it was at some point I had to take a leap of faith from, okay, well, I've got this far with my understanding, with attending the teachings, and the next step is up to me. It's I only I can make that decision to commit. But as I say, I just want to say that once I've made that decision, I suddenly see you in a different light, and I think it's interesting how I've made that decision during the process of this particular module. And I don't, it's a good thing I don't have the words, because sometimes I use too many words. So I don't have the words to, I see Bay chuckling there. I don't blame you, Bay. But it's just, I just wanted to say, once I've made that decision, and I didn't know, I didn't anticipate a shift, but there has been one. So I think it's faith, and it's what the Buddha says, and we, although the Buddha with all of his, his compassion, can't do it for us, even though he'd want to. And so I just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Joel. So I've got light beams coming from all my pores.
I didn't use any words. They're your words.
No, I'm joking, Joel. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, it's true. Once you, as Lama Zopa Rinpoche says, once you mentally decide this person's my teacher, guru, it's heavy, but yeah, it's a big commitment as well. But teacher, spiritual teacher, virtuous friends is a good way to think. Spiritual teacher, virtuous friend. It does shift your mind towards that person. There's a mental shift to how you perceive them, and it does. That supports, as Joe's saying, it's supporting your mind, and there is a bit of leap of faith to do it. But you don't want to take a huge leap, but we do need to take little leap. We need to take leaps sometimes in our path, So that's what we need to do. But again, as an organisation, as FPMT, we try our best to make that leap safe for you, a safe net, by having teachers that we know are qualified to offer you these things, So when you're ready, it should be safe for you to go there, because these teachers have a certain a quality. We're not saying they're all Buddhas, they're all this, but they have a quality to be able to guide you right there for what you need right now. Refuge or bodhisattva vows or whatever, So Lama Zopa Rinpoche spent years developing the organisation so you all could have that. So we could all have that. Lama Yeshe as well, So we're very, very fortunate, we're not perfect as an organisation, but it's like, because, none of us are perfect, right? So, but you do have that net to jump into if that's starting to ripen for you, You can say that you can, you can safely do that if you're feeling like you're able to, see these beings in a certain way, So Yeah. So thank you everyone for sharing. We've only got 10 minutes more left for the meditation. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but maybe we'll just do like 10, if we're, 15 minutes and just dedicate. So the last one was thinking about the qualities. I mean, we've kind of discussed it a little bit here now, which is good. We start off with thinking about the qualities. Second. So yeah, let's just take a few minutes to get into meditation, into our meditation position. So this, because this meditation is just, again, just touching on some of the points we said and just elaborating with a couple of points on how we can start to look at the teacher, at least in a sort of better way, a good light, holding at the good light of the teacher, because that nurtures, not because they need it or they want it or they're expecting that, but because we need that for our practice. It's an ingredient in our practice, cultivating a healthy respect and devotion for the teacher. So a couple of minutes just to breathe into the body, get comfortable. Feeling the presence of the Buddha, either on a crown or on the space before us, about the level of our brow. Again, very radiant on the lotus sun moon cushion. Golden body like the sun, but all made of radiant, like crystal light. Just by seeing the light of the Buddha's body, our mind feels a bit more open, spacious. When I lived at Lama Zopa Rinpoche's house, even just a few days before Rinpoche was coming, it was like the whole house would just light up, even before he arrived. And then when Rinpoche was there, it was just like this big light in the house. I mean, everybody felt it. Your mind was just like light and luminous, just being around, someone like that. But that only comes because we all had a devotion to Rinpoche, I mean, how we felt that, how we experienced that was very much dependent on the level of our mind, how much devotion we had towards Rinpoche. I mean, of course, Rinpoche had these very high qualities. I mean, like a Buddha, for sure, if not a Buddha. And my job was to see Rinpoche like a Buddha. That's our job for our development. And that's how we experience it. The more we see that, just focus on the qualities of the guru, the qualities of the spiritual teacher, the qualities, if it's more comfortable for your mind, just the virtuous friend, someone who inspires you in virtue. There's some lamas who have hundreds. Lama Atisha had 150 teachers because he was able to practice devotion to each one. His mind was so pure, Some teachers, they have so many teachers because even if they receive one teaching and it benefits their mind, they decide to see that person as their teacher because they have so much respect for the Dharma and the teachings. So they, even for one teacher, they feel like they're receiving from all the Buddhas the transmission of that teaching through that being. They can see that being as a Buddha for them, giving teaching. So they're able to have so many gurus. Lama Zopa Rinpoche had many, many gurus because his purity of his own mind. And look, they have realizations. And do we? I mean, not yet. Yeah, we're just still at the beginning stages or just still growing up in our practice of devotion. But, you know, when His Holiness speaks about his teachers, it's like he calls them Guru Vajradhara, you know. That's the level of his kind of respect for his teachers. It doesn't mean he doesn't sometimes aware of faults or whatever, I don't know. You know, I don't know His Holiness's mind, but he has this deep, profound respect for his teachers, what he has received for them. That's what you focus on. Because that's what purifies our mind. I think as Joe and Kate were expressing, you know, when we just start to see the teacher in a different light, I mean, the mind just becomes more open, more this greater ability to receive, become a vessel, to fill up with the qualities of the teachings. That's what that mind does. Because after all, the first reason is, even though, you know, why we need to see the guru, the teacher as a Buddha, or at least focus on the higher qualities, is because anyway, we can't be sure of appearances, you know. I mean, we don't know the level of each being's mind. Even our closest friends, partners, we know a lot about them through how they speak, how they act, behave, but we still don't know the deepest inner thoughts and workings of their mind and emotion. So never mind the teachers, the gurus. So we don't know their other level of mind, you know, we can't be sure of appearances while we're in samsara. So we need to be aware of that and just be open much more to looking at the qualities. Because a lot of the time the faults come from our mind. Even with others, the faults can often come more because it's our level of mind. It's not to beat ourselves up about it, but just to be aware. And another reason why the guru is the Buddha or can be the Buddha or is a pore of the Buddha, an agent of the Buddha, at least at that level, is because anyway, Buddha, as I mentioned, took many eons, it took 3 eons to get enlightened. So it's hard for us to imagine what enlightened mind is, but it basically means that aware of all sentient beings, all beings, you know, is able to spontaneously manifest at any time according to our level of karma, only working for others. I mean, he didn't take 3 eons just to go into his own peace. Oh, I think I'm enlightened now, I'm just going to leave all them to it. No, he went through incredible hardship, giving up his body, his life, his possessions. There's many stories in the Jataka tales of the Buddha's previous life that he taught when he was when he was in this earth. You know, of his many previous life stories of how he sacrificed his life, his family's, you know, his body. He gave away his body to the tigress in his last life before he achieved enlightenment and dedicated that to full enlightenment because he wanted to help others. He wanted to help all beings, no matter who we were, where we were, how we were. I mean, the Buddhas don't have it. That's their only job. They don't have another job. They've given up self-cherishing, self-grasping. It's hard to imagine that mindset, but it's vast. It's beyond our kind of comprehension. But we need to think the Buddha worked for many lifetimes to enlighten us. And we have this karma with Shakyamuni Buddha, with the Buddha of this kalpa, this eon. We have the merit for this kind of sunlight of his teachings to shine on us. We are like the lens, you know, how does it shine through us? Through the lens of our faith. The more our faith, the more we get this, the sun shining on everybody, but without the lens of faith, it won't touch our hearts. So may we all develop this faith, you know, by remembering the qualities and the kindness of the Buddha manifesting through the teachers. Because we can't see Shakyamuni Buddha. So he said, in many texts, there's many citations that he would manifest through teachers, through gurus. That's how he would help us, teach us in the future. So he comes through them. So it's kind of logical when we really work on it for a while. We can't see the Dharmakaya, the Buddha, the Sambhogakaya, or even the more subtle Nirmanakaya manifestation. We just have to see them in a grosser way, which is as humans. I mean, it makes sense. We need to hear teachings through humans who we can communicate and connect with and feel comfortable with. So that's how the Buddha's guiding me. And so that teacher must be like a Buddha or a pour of the Buddha, an agent of the Buddha, at least in that level. The essence of the Buddha is coming through to me through that teacher. So when we shift our mind in that way, it's like the stream of the blessings, we become a lens for the blessings of that stream of sun-like energy to hit our hearts, open our hearts and receive the teachings much more deeply, much more clearly. It's a skillful method to enlighten us more quickly. It's like a big wake-up call. As Kate was saying, you there's a clarity, a wake-up that happens in the mind when you see of this kind of view. And it just gets deeper the more we develop it. But there are things come up in the way that challenge it. But it doesn't mean we just dump that because it's not working, Oh, I've got this problem, so I'm just going to let it go. No, the problem can actually deepen your devotion. Some of the challenges can deepen it. You just work through that problem and you see, oh, now there's an end result, I mean, the purpose of a teacher is to work on your stuff, right? So we have to expect a sort of detox process. But as Lama Zopa Rinpoche always said, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are always with us, There's we don't have to feel lonely or sad, or they're always around us, guiding us and loving us. Rinpoche would always say that. It's just that, it's like we need to take the medicine of these practices to tune in and feel that more clearly in our hearts. So we have to put the effort for our side to see the purer view of the teachers, focusing on the qualities and the kindness. And then the mind lifts up much more easily out of the well, the dark hole of samsara. So it's one of the greatest gifts that Lama Zopa Rinpoche always gave us. Rinpoche didn't have a shyness or an embarrassment about speaking. Some lamas, it's difficult because it sounds like you're saying I'm a Buddha when you teach Guru devotion. But the more we understand the teachings, it's not what that's saying from the side of the teacher. It's saying you need to do this practice to develop on the path, develop that awareness, to develop your mind on the path. It's an essential ingredient. So step by step, cultivating, a relationship with a spiritual teacher. It's very step by step. And it's often through the challenges that we learn the most, like anything in life. It's the hardships that we find we get the most growth. So let's just finish with just we're going to make up, so each one of us just in our own mind, wherever we are right now, if we've met a teacher, just making a dedication to continue to develop our mind by offering in action, which also means offering service, offering gifts, following the advice is the main one, doing the practice is the main one. And then through in thought, remembering the kindness of the teacher, focusing on that, focusing on the qualities of the teacher. And that way, developing a healthy, organic relationship with our teachers. If we have them, and if we don't, just feeling again, focused on the Buddha as our teacher right now, as the other people as the pores, and just, we can make a prayer that either we develop deeper devotion gradually through the teacher we have, or that we eventually meet the teachers at the level we're at who can help us through the levels of refuge, bodhicitta, taking tantric vows and initiations, more teachers. We meet them step by step as and when we need them, and we're able to practice the right amount of devotion with them, the correct devotion and thought and action to them. So we just feel we're getting that blessing for Shakyamuni Buddha as he comes, is really happy with our practice today. So it's always good to feel at the end that Shakyamuni Buddha is really happy with our meditation practice, wherever it went, we're sitting on the cushion, we're trying to work through our mind, and develop on the path. And he dissolves gradually, like mist in a mirror, into a small ball of radiant golden light. Comes the crown of our head, and we just feel this complete oneness, protection, sense of refuge and being held through our whole being with the golden light energy of Shakyamuni Buddha. Feeling that, we're definitely being guided, as Lama Zopa Rinpoche says, always by Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, by Shakyamuni Buddha, and through all these pores, these agents, just being held in that space of outer refuge, and then our own inner refuge of our conviction to keep practicing. So I'll just put up a couple of dedication prayers to finish. Just need to find the text. It's here. Didn't have that one ready. Okay, so taking a moment just to rejoice that we've come here today, spent our morning in this way, just really trying to get a sense, wrap our head around this relationship with the spiritual teacher. Not too tight, not too loose, but just getting more and more, as much clarity as we can, so we make the right decisions at the right time. And then we dedicate with the traditional prayers to develop bodhicitta. That's the goal, and that's our next module. How we develop bodhicitta. So that's a juicy one as well. How do we develop the ultimate good heart, the ultimate mind of kind of compassion towards every being equally? How do we really do that? What's the method? So we dedicate for each one of us to really slowly develop that, and then also to realize emptiness. Chanju senju rinpo she ma ge pa nam ge gyur she ge pa nyam pa me pa yi gon ne gon du pel war shuk. May the precious view of emptiness not yet born arise. May that arisen not decline but increase more and more. For His Holiness's long life, incomparable, kind, and supreme Tenzin Gyatso, the wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, may you have a long life and all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. And also just dedicating for Lama Zopa Rinpoche to return. He has returned, so he's being reborn in Nepal now, but we don't know where. And there might be some time before we find the incarnation, but whatever happens for that to be most auspicious, and for Rinpoche's incarnation to have all the perfect conditions to study, to meditate, to become, a great master again. And each one of us have the karma to be able to meet Rinpoche, receive teachings in this and future lives. And also for our own, whatever we want to dedicate for as well, for that to come through due to the blessing of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So that to happen in our lives. All right, thank you so much.
No,
Okay,
Angie.
so we've got it down now.
So,
Slowly, slowly,
if
yes.